This is our gentle flow. We're going to just get to it. I'm not going to focus a whole lot on anything other than just a nice flowing yoga asana practice. So set your intention for the class today. Give yourself a moment to notice how your body is settling in. Give yourself a moment to notice your breath. Make that spine longer, and then whenever you're ready, taking the arms out and up and bringing the hands down through heart. Continue that flow, just stretching out the body. At any point, if you want to, with your hands up over your head, reach left, reach right. At any point that you want to, rather than bringing the hands down through the center line, take the hands out and then bring the hands up through the center line. Essentially just getting the blood pumping and getting our body stretched out. And then when you're ready, right into those back bends. So taking the hands up and one arm at a time behind the center line of the body. And again, pause for a second, stretch it out if you want to. Take your time. As you're ready, both hands up, bring the hands forward, cat, cow, round your back, open your chest. Look at your feet. Does the grounding you're feeling match with what you're seeing? Are there any adjustments that you want to make? Find mountain, full exhale, tall mountain and standing camel. Let the sternum open up to the sky. Place the hands on the hips or on the low back, whatever feels right for you. Lift the heart to the sky. Let the shoulders draw down out of the earth. Gently look to one side or the other side. Tilt your head if you want. Feel that energy around your body. Full exhale. And then whenever you're ready, bring it back to mountain. Tall mountain to forward fold. Get that tail up as high as you can. Ground your hands into something and begin to let your spine stretch out and invert. Lift the tail up to the sky, decompress the spine. Feel the stretch in the back of the hamstrings. Maybe feel the stretch into your calves. And then when you're ready, slowly bring it up. Step one leg back. Doesn't matter what leg you want to step back because you're turning sideways on your mat. And then just take that forward fold there. Begin to feel that stretch into your hamstrings and into your calves. You can bring the blocks with you if you want. You could touch the floor or use a chair. Gently bend one knee, straighten the other leg, and feel the stretch move into the inner thigh muscles. Get the tail down low, then let your head and your neck release, and alternate those sides. Settle into the center, so both knees are gently bent. Bring yourself up, deep breath up. Turn the toes out slightly, heels can come in, and then take yourself into sunflower. Drop the tail as low as you can there. Let your head and your neck release. Bring it back up again. Nice. Stop at the top. Ground. Turn one foot to point to the top of the mat. Bend that knee and it's warrior two. Square your hips off a little bit. So some of us are really going to notice a stretch into the back, and you can change your foot position so that you can be comfortable here. Your weight's nice and even, but your hips are square to the ground. So if you notice that you're leaning forward or one hip is up, change something. Reverse warrior, reach it up to the sky. Now as you're exhaling, reach that back hand down. Look over that back hand. Think about, did that front knee come back a little bit? If it did, sink into it. So front knee is right over top of the ankle. 2 or 3 deep breaths, and then cartwheel over that leg and step into lunge. So lift your back heel up, front knees over the ankle, push through that back heel and get the stretch to come down into the calf. Maybe you'll notice the stretch into the arch of the foot. Engage the abs, push through the front leg, place the back leg beside the front, bring yourself up, standing camel. You're set up like me. Your back is going to be to the screen for a short period of time. Don't worry about that. And if you really don't like it, just walk to the other side of your mat. As you're ready, tall mountain. Exhale into that forward fold. Decompress the spine. Inhale, half lift, flatten your back and get that weight nice and balanced and even. Exhale, forward fold, step back with the opposite leg, drop the heel down and come up to warrior two. Arms are parallel to the floor, turn the palm of the front hand, reverse warrior. Front knee is over the ankle, look up, look down. Feel that energy being drawn in both directions and being drawn into your core. And then when you're ready, exhale, cartwheel over the front leg, back heel comes up, and sink down into that lunge. Nice, shoulders are down out of the ears, chest is open. This time you're gonna drop your back knee down and lift the chest into dragon lunge. Notice where the back foot is, but you don't have to change anything. Front leg is going to come behind you. Sit back into child's pose. Stretch your back out a little bit. Inhale, bring yourself back up. Bring the opposite leg forward into dragon lunge. And again, note where the back foot is, but don't have to change anything. As you're ready, front leg is going to come behind you and get your toes to touch. Take your knees slightly to the outside. That's going to make more room for your belly. Hands can be on the floor or up slightly higher. And exhale into that child's pose. Let your head and your neck go. And really think of the stretch in the middle and the low back here. Start to sway your hips side to side. So if you're not appreciating that stretch in your back, bring your hands up higher and try to get your bum down lower. Inhale, come forward to a plank. Could be a kneeling plank. Line it up so that your shoulders, your elbows, your wrists are in line. Make your spine nice and long. And then open your feet a little bit. So now, second toe, ankle, knee, hip, shoulder are in line. And exhale, sink back. Try to keep that line with your legs. And same thing here. So if I'm finding it harder, which I am, for hip reasons, for knee reasons, whatever your reasons are, bring your hands up higher so your shoulders are higher. Get your bum as low as it can be. And then exhale, let your head and your neck go. Feel the stretch in the back. Start to gently sway your hips side to side. Massage your stomach. Notice if you're hanging on to anything in the hips. And if you are, add those props. Inhale forward to your plank, knees or toes, but a nice straight line, crown of the head, through to whatever point is touching the floor. And then just take your heels out slightly from the center line of the body. Exhale, bring it back into child's pose. So a lot more challenging for us here. For some of us here. Some of us can sit literally with their bum between their feet and their knees on the outside. It's called hero's pose. We want to get the bum as far back as we can, but we might find we can't come as forward. That's okay. If you need to, your chest is up high, and we're just trying to gently sit in between the feet. So for myself, a lot of pressure here. My hands are on my blocks, and I'm just gently sinking back and then coming forward. And you can put pillows under your bum, anything you need to help support your weight and get that stretch into your hips without hurting your knees. Brenda, I'm not sure if you're still on your clock, but we're at about that 15-minute point there. Take your time. Notice your breath. Full exhale. There's a whole lot more work in my breath here. Play with your props so that you do feel supported as you're trying to stretch out those hips more. Maybe something between the legs that you can put the weight of your hips on. As you're ready, slowly bring it back forward to plank. If you're using the blocks for your plank, just gently set the blocks to the side. Lower yourself all the way down to the ground. And then bring the legs in so everything's sort of in a straight line now. Hands could rest out to the side or under your forehead, whatever's easier for you. Think about lifting that leg straight up and just slowly a little bit behind the body. So your hip, if you're using right leg first, your right hip is going to lift up and you're feeling that opening through the hips, through the obliques. Exhale, bring it back to the center. Same thing on the other side. Engage, lift the leg up. Take it gently behind. You can bend the knees slightly. Bring it to the center. One more on each side. Perfect. Bring it back to the center and make sure you're nice and comfortable here. Lift the right. Actually, it doesn't matter to me which leg you want to lift. Lift one leg. Externally rotate that hip. Now play a little bit to try and keep your hips square. So if you notice the hip lifted up as you did that rotation, do your best to square it off. Lengthen your spine and exhale. Trying to keep your shoulders and your hips square to the ground while you have one knee out to the side. If it's too easy, then you extend that leg, longer lever, but really notice how much is that hip lifting up. As you're exhaling, try to get that hip to drop down. Play a little bit with rotation in that hip. The longer the lever, the more the stretch into the groin muscles is going to be. You could turn your head to look away from your leg. Inhale, make your spine longer. Exhale, try to reach a sense of calm in this stretch. Notice as you're exhaling, if your exhale is pretty choppy, mine's fairly choppy. I'm tight right now. I can feel the stretch in my groin is intense. I could bend my knee and release it, but I feel like I'm right at my edge. And if I just took an extra second to stop talking and to breathe, that would be enough for my body to allow me to release. So give yourself whatever time you need here. To feel that release. As your body releases, remember, knee can be bent or straight. Begin to make another choice. Do I want to load my hips more? If you say, yeah, it's still too tight, then please don't load your hips more. That would be insane. But if you feel like, yeah, I feel like I've got some movement happening there, consider lengthening your spine and begin to lift your chest up. And you can slowly start to bring your elbows in. I am propped up, but I'm going to use my core to lengthen, draw my shoulders back so I'm not jammed into my back. And really notice that opening into the front. If I need less, I just come down a little bit more. If I need more, instead of being on my elbows, I could be on my hands as long as I'm not jamming my shoulders. Breathe into this. Notice the things you're feeling. The work, there's a lot of work, but the work that I'm cueing for specifically is going to be in and around that hip joint, into the groin. Notice the things you're feeling. As you're ready, team, and we're going to come back to this. As you're ready, team, you're going to bring that leg gently in. You're going to very gently push yourself back into a child's pose. Pay attention. Doesn't matter which foot position you choose, but pay attention to what you do choose. Sit back into your child's pose and see if you can feel that stretch in your low back, in your hips. Get your bum as close to your heels as you can so you're not jamming into your shoulders. If you're feeling this in your shoulders, my cue is put something under your hands. Blocks, chair, a wall, so that you can feel the stretch into the hips and the back. And then just very, very gently sway the hips side to side, massaging the stomach. Forward to your plank, tuck those elbows in, knees or toes, doesn't matter to me. Exhale, lower all the way down to the ground. Same set on the other side. So you're going to lift up the opposite leg and you're going to externally rotate the hip. And yes, your body weight will likely shift a little bit. You can see how my bum shifted a little bit on this side. Now my job is just to stay here And as best I can, try to get both my hips as square to the ground as is possible. Lengthen the spine, let the shoulders drop. Yes, you can lengthen that leg. I don't want the hip to raise more because I've lengthened the leg. So if I start, rolling even more, maybe I'll keep the leg bent. But I can add more of a groin stretch here. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. You could turn your head to look away from the extended leg. And just, again, play a little bit. Play with little tail tilts and tail tucks. They're really subtle little movements here. Let the shoulders release and be here. If you're here, you're in this pose, you've taken a couple breaths in this pose, and you still feel like, I want different, I want more, I'm not sure, but I'm sure that I need something other than just what I've got right now. Then we begin to lift the chest up, we tuck the elbows underneath, and we start to load. We're looking for the opening in the front of the body, no jamming in the back of the body. Lengthen the spine. Give yourself lots of time here. Continue to play with the very, very subtle tail tilts, tail tucks, wiggles left and right. Those very subtle movements are going to deepen that stretch. Find your edge, the spot where, yes, I'm using Ujjayi breath, but my Ujjayi breath is not choppy. I'm not holding my breath. I'm not feeling forced. But it certainly isn't easy. Once you're ready, slowly, let's bring that back down. Slowly, let's bring that leg in. Hands are at the chest, and maybe this time I'll do toes together and knees to the outside, and you might do it during your transition. It's harder. You could just have legs flat, engage the abs, push yourself up and back into your child's pose, and then open your knees, bring your toes together. If you did that one last time, do something different this time. Get your bum as close to your heels as you can. Then let your head and your neck go. If you feel the weight is pushing into your arms, blocks, bolsters, something under the hands, so the top of your body is slightly higher, and that will release the pressure. Now you can feel the stretch into the hips and into the back. I need you to feel the stretch into the hips and into the back. Begin to sway your hips side to side. Ever so gentle, ever so subtle. Feel the massage of the stomach and feel the tiny little, the subtle is the best word I can come up with right now. The subtleties as that stretch changes. Inhale, bring yourself up onto all fours. Open the feet, line everything up so you have two parallel planes next to one another. Roll the shoulders down out of the ears. One hand comes to the center between those two planes. The opposite hand comes onto your hip. You make your spine long and see if you can get those two shoulders right in between those two planes that you had going. But keep your hips in those two original planes. So a line in between two railroad tracks. Exhale, bring it to the center. Switch hands, same thing. Am I going to get a line between two railroad tracks? Me personally, no. No, I'm not. But that's what I'm trying to do. So here I want us to be mindful that we're not leaning our body weight. So as I'm working this twist, I don't want to shift my whole body weight over to stack shoulder over shoulder. I want to keep my hips very, very square. I might not get shoulder over shoulder completely, but I'm thinking one vertebrae at a time through the spine. Whereas when my hips drop to one side, I might get that twist more through the upper part of my back, but I'm not going to get that twist as much through the lower part of my back when my hips drop to the side. Try to keep the hips as square as you can. And then work that twist one vertebrae at a time. As you're working your twist, begin to notice, especially as your twist gets deeper, some of us are going to notice as we're twisting, suddenly the foot wants to come across the body. That's because your hip is trying to open out to help your twist here. And I don't want your hip to help your twist. We're trying to get this twist literally to be just through the vertebrae. The hips staying as square as they can. Beautiful. Bring it back to the center. Sit down into your child's pose. What's the next variation of child's pose that you need to try? So for me, it's heels on the outside. That's my least favorite variation. It's hero's pose, essentially. It would be sitting with my feet on the outside, my bum touching the floor, which I cannot do even chest up. And then if you're able to, doing that with a forward fold. So certainly for myself, this variation, my torso is much, much higher. My chest is the highest out of all three in this variation. We're still trying to get that bum as close to the ground as we can. And then gently swaying the hips. If this is hurting your knees, it's not the variation for you. As you're ready, come forward into your plank. Lower yourself down to the ground. And one more time, let's go into that external rotation. So this time we're all going to be together. We're going to externally rotate the leg closest to your screen. If you're not facing your screen, or if you're not set up in a way where you have closest to the screen, let's use the left leg. So taking that left leg out to the side. I used my right so that I'll be mirroring people. Lengthen your spine. Exhale. Try to get those hips as square to the ground as you can. Play tail tilt, tail tuck. Arms can go out to the side or they can be under your hip. You could take that leg long or keep the knee bent. 2 or 3 breaths. Give it a second. Nice. Now the opposite leg. So left leg is out. I'm going to ask you to take the right hand up. The opposite. So if you're like, well, my right leg is out because that was the one closest to the screen. Great. Then it's going to be your left arm. Opposite arm is going to go out to the side. You're turning your head to look to the same direction as your leg, and you're trying to keep your shoulders and your hips Go square to the ground. Nice deep breath. You can soften the knee or straighten the knee. Now we're going to gently start to lift this hip up, and you're adding a little bit more of a rotation. This is going to put a little more pressure into the pectoral muscles, into the chest muscles. Lengthen the spine. Let the head touch the ground or put a pillow underneath, and feel that stretch into the chest. Top hand, you could reach it up to the sky. It's usually pretty good just right here. You can just put a little gentle pressure into your fingers, and that's going to give you more of a stretch through that pectoral muscle. As you're ready, I'm going to bring you through to the center. I'm going to show you the same thing because you couldn't really see my arm here on the other side. Neutral spine, everything's at the center. You're going to externally rotate that hip. You're going to give it a second to try and get it as square as it can be. Maybe straight leg, but you don't have to do that. 2 or 3 breaths. Trying to get everything as square as it can be. As I'm ready, I'm looking at my leg. The opposite arm is going to go out to the side. I'm doing this a little bit faster than I did last time, and then it's going to be our first playtime. As I'm ready, I'm going to gently bring that leg in, lift the hip up a little bit more. Now I'm putting more pressure on the chest. I don't want the pressure to be on the shoulder joint. That's important here. So don't let that shoulder jam up. You're reaching the arm out to the side, and we're looking for the stretch in the chest muscles, in the pectoral muscles. Lengthen the spine and nice deep breath. Your head could rest on the ground, or you could put a little pillow underneath it. As you're ready, bring it back to the center. Same thing on the other side. Now this time what I'm going to tell you is we're here for 5 minutes. Playing with this pectoral stretch for 5 minutes. The hip can lift up. Okay, I want to keep this leg forward. We're not taking it behind our body yet. We might later, but we're not yet. And feel that stretch in the pectoral muscles. So for those of us where this is just really too intense and it's bugging our back, what we're going to do is we're going to stand against a wall. We're going to basically do the exact same thing against the wall. So here's my floor. My arms out to the side. My hip can come out to the side slightly. And there's my twist. This is exactly the same thing that I was doing on the floor. I had more hip stuff happening on the floor, but it was the same thing that was happening in my chest. Now play. Remember, we're here for 5 minutes between both sides. If I take my arm up a little bit higher, that feels different than if I point it out to the side or I point down. I lose everything as far as the chest goes when my hand's down here beside my body, or if my hand is straight up over my head. I want a slight bend in the elbow, and I want to play feeling that stretch. Standing, I don't have as much I don't have gravity pushing on my chest at all. Gravity's pushing down on my body. Lying on the floor, gravity's pushing your body down, so you get much deeper stretch in through the pectoral region. Listen to your body. Switch sides when you need to switch sides. So we're into that last 2.5-ish minutes. If you feel like I needed more, I didn't get what I needed, Candace, you were explaining, of course you're just going to give yourself what you need. Lengthen your spine. Deepen your stretch. Notice, most of us distinctly have differences between right shoulder, left hip. And I don't want to say good or my bad hip, my good hip. And I say that way too often. And it's not necessarily my good hip, my bad shoulder, whatever. It's just different. And for many different reasons. It could be I overuse one. Most of us do. We're one side dominant. It could be from an injury. It could be how I sleep at night. It's amazing how we sleep at night that we really have so little control over, because our body's doing it without us necessarily consciously saying, hey, do this, do that, because we're asleep. And then these repetitive movements that we do at night end up being part of our regime during the day, and maybe we're dealing with things that we didn't realize. I was watching a comedy show the other day, and the comedian kept tucking his arm behind his back. That just kind of became a habitual thing. Probably somebody told him he was swinging his arms and being a hand talker, and it was distracting. So to not be distracting in his set, he started tucking his arm behind. That actually became one of his jokes. He's now got an injury in his shoulder that he's having to deal with doctors and physiotherapists, because he always tucked his arm behind his back. Who would think that that would be an injury? But anything that we do repeatedly, even little things, can put strain on our bodies, and we don't realize it necessarily. Team, when you're ready, I hope you got what you needed from that. We are going to come back for a little bit more in a bit. Slowly bring yourself back into that child's pose. Again, choose your foot position. Lengthen your spine. If I need to, I'll still keep my torso up higher, my head part of my torso up higher. Push the tail close to the heels, close to the floor. Let your head and your neck lift. Gently sway your hips side to side. Slow your breath down. Inhale forward to your plank. Exhale, lower chest, then belly, comfortable on the floor. All right, external rotation in the leg that's closest to your screen, or left leg. I'm using my right so that I'm your mirror. Taking that leg out to the side if you want to. Square those hips up. Oh, nice deep breath. Inhale, load the hips if you want to, lifting up and just resting on your elbows, or maybe you're even lifting up higher, but you don't have to do any of these things. And if you start to feel like your breath is forced, change something. Slow that breath down. Nice. I'm going to try to keep as square as I can be as I reach. So leg that's out, that hand I'm going to reach behind. So right away, my whole body wants to shift as I'm reaching behind. I'm going to stay as square as I can be, reach behind. And then I'm going to see if I can bring that foot in and catch that foot. And maybe I catch the foot, maybe I don't. I could come back down onto the ground. That'll take a little of the pressure out. It might make it easier for me so I'm not propped as much. Bring that leg in. You can use your strap if you want to. Gently pull the heel in towards the bum. Roll your shoulder back. And if you want to, push the foot into the hand and away. Slow your breath down here. And again, notice. Am I fighting things here? Slow it down and play with your little tail tilts, tail tucks. As you're ready, release that off and switch sides. If this was your tight side, stay here a little bit longer. So we got about 2 minutes left in this set. External rotation, let's make that 2.5 minutes, because I want you to have a good 30 seconds to set things up and make sure that you're really comfortable in your setup first. Leg out to the side, square those hips as best as I can. All right, so now we're coming into that last, minute 45, 2 minutes. Lift the chest if you want to lift the chest. Do I need to reach back? I don't even know if I need to reach back on this side. I have enough action happening here, but just for demo, so I'll come back down. I'll reach back, palm up, roll the shoulder back, and see if you can grab that foot. And again, if you can't grab the foot, there's a few reasons for that. And one of them actually can be tight hips. One can be tight shoulders. See if you can grab the foot. If you can't grab the foot, but you're like, man, I really want this to happen, wrap a strap around your foot ahead of time, and then you can just use that strap. Take your time, breathe, notice. I am not even going to worry about the bind right now. I can't even find where my foot is. Like I say, I had enough going on. Making choices. That's a tough one, right? Because I wanted to do what I had set out to do, but I also said, we only have like 2 minutes, so we're down to about the last 40 seconds here. I didn't have my strap ready to go. I had already commented that really, I was in a pretty good position as far as feeling the stretch without that bind. It's okay to adjust along the way, to make those transitions along the way, to make adjustments, because you know what? Something's just not working as I had it set out in my mind to do. You're planning a trip, suddenly there's roadworks. Well, you can sit there and fight with the roadworks, or you can try and find a different route. When you're ready to bring it back to the center, and again, just notice how you're feeling. Nice. Take the arms out to the side, or one arm out to the side. External rotation in that left leg. So it would be the right arm is going to stay out to the side, but this time I'm thinking about my chest, so I'm letting this hip come up a little bit more, that stretch in the pectoral muscles. And this time, if I want to, my top leg, rather than holding it here, it's going to be easier on my low back, I could take this leg behind. So a couple options. I can externally rotate my hip here, try and put the foot flat on the floor, or I can put pillows underneath if you want to, put a couch underneath your foot if you want to. I could try and let this leg drop. It's supposed to drop. The knee is supposed to drop, but tight hips sometimes don't allow that to happen. Play, hip can come forward, hip can come back. Lengthen your spine, something could be under your pad. It's harder to do when you have mics on your glasses, when you have glasses on. Play. And then remember that same thing I had you do with the arm? Do that with your arm. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, release. So we have 4 minutes. 4 minutes to enjoy. So still 4 minutes right now. I've got 10:16 on my clock. At 10:20, I want to start into the last set, and then that'll take us right into Shavasana. So play here. At any point that you think, oh, I'm ready to switch sides, switch sides. If you switch sides and suddenly you think, I was not ready to switch sides, switch back. It is a timed event. We have 3 minutes to experience as much in this stretch. It's not really a sequence per se, because we're holding this set, but you can definitely do just parts of this set. I don't have to do legs and arms. Remember, you could take this up to the wall. Lengthen your spine. Exhale. Release, release. What does release mean? What does let go mean? It doesn't mean lack of control or giving up. It means surrendering to something that's bigger than yourself. Being in the moment. Let go of trying to control everything and just actually notice what it is that you're feeling, experiencing. Coming in on that last minute, have you gotten what you needed out of this? And you might need what our first stage was, just external rotation in the hip and trying to square the hips off. Just because I build in a certain time frame, I'm building based on a clock here. I'm building based on just a generic, not your body necessarily. I'm not even building on my body. I can feel there's a knot right here in my hip. I don't need all the upper body stuff. I could probably just stay for 10 or 15 minutes and just be here with my hand forward even and comfortably feel that. Don't be afraid to change things if you need to change things. I'm queuing to try and hit all of these XYZ at one time. But the more you practice it, the more body aware you become, the more you realize the things that you need or don't need at any certain time. Cater to your body. All right, team, as you're ready, if you're not ready, stay longer. As you're ready, bring it to the center. Our last twist, we've done this a couple times over the last couple weeks. What I'm gonna get you to do is start in that fetal position where you're lying on your side, hip over hip, hip over hip, knee over knee, ankle over ankle, shoulder over shoulder. Okay, clap the hands together, draw the shoulders out of the ears, make the spine nice and long. With your top hand, start with a big stretch here. So you've got, it's a lateral flexion, stretch. And then as you're exhaling, let your head touch the floor and start to look up to the sky. Oh, take as much time here. If you want to, put a little pillow underneath your bottom shoulder, especially if you feel like you're hyperextending this top shoulder. Oh, breathe and stay for as long as you want. When you're done, come back to fetal position, roll yourself onto your back. Now we move to the twist from the bottom of the body up. You're gonna drop both knees to one side. You're gonna stay for as long as you want. You'll bring your knees to the center. You'll drop both knees to the other side. You're gonna stay as long as you want. Both knees will come to the center, so now you have neutral spine again, and you'll move your whole body into fetal position on the other side. Stack it, shoulder over shoulder, hip over hip, knee over knee, ankle over ankle. Inhale, bring the arm up, keep the shoulder down, and begin to open that chest. Stay here for as long as you want. So if I feel like I'm hyperextending, my shoulder joint, and many of us will. We might not even be able to get our hand to touch the ground. I want you to put stacks of pillows underneath you so that you can feel this opening and take all the time in the world that you need. At least give yourself one full, uncomplicated exhale. When that's done, bring it back, fetal position, roll yourself onto the back. Drop your knees to one side, stay for as long as you want to. Knees to the center. Knees to the other side, stay for as long as you want to. Knees to the center. Side position on the other side. Team, we have 3 minutes. 2.5 maybe, I don't have a second hand on that one clock, to work this sequence. So it is a sequence, but it's a sequence where I really just kind of want you to think of it as variations on a side twist. I don't need to be flowing this in any way that has a rhythm to it necessarily. Where are you noticing things? So again, all of it I'm noticing in my right hip, in my right leg. That's where I'm the tightest. That's where I feel things the most when I'm working with my massage therapist. That is the area that just trumps almost everything for me 99% of the time. But it doesn't mean that I still don't need to get all of those other things. I do, because all of those other things can be factors into why that one hit, why I have that knot where I have that knot. I might be tight over in my left shoulder and I'm compensating. So I still want you to go through the motions. Now, if you're enjoying something, I want you to stay and feel everything that this posture, this set has to offer. But certainly if there's one thing that where you're like, oh yes, just let me hang out here longer, do that. All right, shoulder people. So I'm hip person today, right? But shoulder people, if your hand is over here and your shoulder is jamming up into your ear, that's not a comfortable position. Make your arm longer. Hold on to a block so that your shoulder can stay down out of the ear. So if my arm is hanging, that's not going to be a comfortable position. And then I talked about how you could have pillows or rolled up towels or different things underneath. So if I put my pillow, or this is a folded towel here, just sort of right beside my spine as I started this position. Now I'm a little supported here and I can more easily let go without feeling like my shoulder is jamming up or that I'm sort of holding it because I'm scared to let go. And then when I come back to that fetal position, I would just move whatever my prop is out of the way. I'd bring myself onto my back and continue that flow. Practice this. Anybody who has back problems, back pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, this little set here where you're doing your twist from the root up the spine, doing the twist from the crown down the spine is such a fantastic set because it hits everything. But if I'm tight and I don't put props underneath my shoulders or underneath my hips as I'm doing it, I can end up hurting my spine. If you're not sure, you're going to give me a call or a text or a something. We'll set up a one-on-one, whether it be on Zoom or whether it be here in the studio, whatever, and I'll make sure that we talk it through so that I know whatever you're doing safely, but you're getting the full experience. Whenever you're ready, team, Find your way to Shavasana. I'm not going to give you namaste today, saying goodbye. I'm going to say that to you now. Namaste. Have a good day. Be supported so that your back is nice and flat. So if you feel more supported with your knees bent, great, but put something under your knees so you don't have to hold your knees bent. You can be palms up, you can be palms down. Make your spine longer. If you need something under your head for whatever reason, go ahead and do that. If you're able to, let's try to line up ears and shoulders and hips. But again, you know, all of these things have happened over time. Most of us sleep with our head up slightly. Most of us are on computers, things like that, where our head's up. Having your head flat on the floor, so your ears and your shoulders are in line, might not be a comfortable position for you yet. We'll keep playing, we'll keep practicing, we'll see. Make sure that you're comfortable here, because this is Shavasana, sort of this introduction to meditation. Full exhale. Close your eyes. Follow your breath and be. If your mind wanders, that's actually a part of meditation I'm learning. Notice it. Try to, if it helps you, say the word, right? Like, what am I thinking about? Oysters. My back. Head. But try to not sit on whatever that thought is for a long period of time. Keep coming back just to the moment. What's the moment? All these fleeting things can come through your head. Just don't sit on them as best you can. This is a completely challenging thing to do. I am not a meditation teacher, nor am I somebody who meditates easily herself yet. So we are learning this together. As I'm reading things, as I'm learning things, as I'm hearing different cues from different actual meditators, I'm simply regurgitating what I've heard. I haven't practiced it myself yet. I certainly have not felt like I've got any authority in it. Remember to like, comment, and share. And most important, don't forget to subscribe.